Priceline started in the backwoods of Connecticut, didn't it? It was it started in Stamford.
Stamford, yeah, absolutely.
And so here we are. And when did it start?
We started working on it in '96, and we went out in '98.
Right, so there were lots of interesting technology plays in the Valley on the web then.
Right.
And so was Priceline just a better airline business or travel business, or what was the entrepreneurial story?
Priceline, the idea behind Priceline was Jay Walker, who was the core founder and the true entrepreneur. Jay put millions and millions of his own dollars into Priceline and did a phenomenal job and was working 100 hours a week trying to really make it a success. Priceline needed technology in order to work. It's a business model. It was technology enhanced, not driven by technology. We really were solving two problems. We were solving the airlines problem, which is they had a lot of empty seats, and they wanted to fill the empty seats, but they didn't want to reduce the profit margin that they were getting at last minute from business travelers. And a consumer problem, which was people wanted to travel, but they really didn't want to pay the fees or the price that the airlines had. So what Priceline enabled to do, and the technology behind it, was allowing consumers the power to name their own price. If you remember early days with William Shatner, and it's still so much in right now, which is great. But name your own price, and the internet enabled it to happen because it. In fact, we actually conceived the business with paper, and so one of the versions we had was that we would fax. This was 1995, that we would fax to the airlines the consumer's request for airline tickets. It just couldn't work. Couldn't work with paper, couldn't work with telephone. So it was enabled by the internet. But we were really not a technology company. We needed the net to provide the computing power. But it really were solving the consumer problem, and it was a business model issue.
So I think that's a really interesting observation for entrepreneurs in the room, in that Priceline wasn't a technology play. Yeah. It was an insight about a business model. And that, I think, maybe is the segue into what are you doing now? I mean, what is MissionPoint Capital, and what's the insight about that business?
Well, it's important to say that Priceline's not a technology, really not a pure technology play, because people who know me know that I'm not all that savvy on technology. So I make sure that I'm clear about that. Where we are with MissionPoint and where we are in solving these large-scale environmental issues feel the same way, in that the solutions to large-scale environmental issues, climate change in particular, is not going to be solved entirely with technology. Technology, and I guess I have to be somewhat careful where I am when I say that. But the issues are so large with climate change that technology will enable the solutions, but there are business model issues, there are systematic issues that need to be addressed in order to really solve the issues of the carbon economy that we're in and the transition to a low-carbon economy. And so we are based in Connecticut, we're East Coast based, and we look at things, we look at technology as an enabler of one of the solutions, but we also really look primarily at the capital markets and see how the capital markets and changes in the capital market systems can affect this transition to a low-carbon economy.